All right. Hi, Edwina. How are you?
I'm really well, Irene. How are you?
It's so good to see you. It's nice to be gristers back together again.
Absolutely.
It's just beautiful. So, of course, you went through GRIST season 3 in 2019, back when, we thought the world was tricky enough as it was.
Yeah, true.
Really hard with bushfires, with drought, with hail, with disruption, and now with coronavirus. What happened to the climate factory? Where are you up to?
Okay, so all the plans that I had that I developed from 2019, and also as being part of the Millhouse Social Enterprise Accelerator, many of those I've had to put on hold. So they were around building microforests in public spaces in Canberra. And the ACT government is responsible for the volunteers who work in those spaces. So basically those projects are on hold. So I've got about 3 or 4 different projects like that. So it's meant that I've had to change the way I do things and think about things really differently. Yeah.
The Downer Centre, I think, was a critical kind of offer in your crowdfunding campaign.
That's right. So building a microforest in Downer was one of the projects that I ran a crowdfunding campaign for when I was when I was a participant in the Millhouse program. Yeah.
And that was a successful crowdfunding campaign. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
What's it been like communicating with the supporters around that funding and around that opportunity? Have people been understanding and accepting about what's happening?
I think very much so. So I sent newsletters out to those people, but also to the rest of my Climate Factory followers, just to let them know what was happening. And also on my website, I put up notes saying, these projects are on hold due to coronavirus. But it was interesting. One of the things we did with the crowdfunding is you often offer a gift or a small gift as part of an incentive. And one of those was a packet of mixed pollinator seeds. But we had such an awful summer that I decided to hold off on actually giving those seeds to people, because I thought there's no point them planting them now because it was such a terrible summer. So come spring, those people who will be able to get those seeds from us, which will be good.
That's so beautiful. So they're still connected. I mean, that was the beautiful thing about your campaign. It was more than putting something into the dirt. It was about people getting their hands dirty and feeling connected to making a change. So
so what we're really trying to do with that crowdfunding campaign, to see if people in the community were willing to fund a landscape sketch plan, so a blueprint for the future, but also to support us plant 1,500 plants. And we were calling them climate ready plants because with a hotter, drier future, we need to be rethinking about what we do in our public landscape. So that proved popular, and then it's had a roll-on effect. We've had a federal Labor member, Alicia Payne, invited the Molonglo Conservation Group and the Climate Factory to put in for a community environment program grant. So that's then created what's called the Sullivan's Creek microforest. So although we haven't been able to do on-ground community planting works, we have been able to do community engagement, and there seems to be a better acceptance of doing community engagement, just how you and I really are doing it now. So getting people to a Zoom meeting where we present, but also using surveys to get people's to elicit people's responses to some of the key principles we're talking about. So we ask people to kind of vote on what's their most, what's most important to them. Is it habitat? Is it gathering spaces in the community? Is it water harvesting? Is it social connection? So I think there's more of acceptance of doing business in a different way. And it is business. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, that's phenomenal. I would like to jump a little bit around in the list of questions that we have,
Sure.
Edwina. There was something that I was quite curious about just on a personal level, and that's around the feeling that I was getting when I was talking to more social entrepreneurs around the regions, that somehow the bushfire recovery and the disaster recovery of Southern Region, New South Wales, feels like it's disappeared. Through your community engagement, are you getting the same sense? We don't see it in the media as much, but you're right there in the middle of this incredible zone.
Well, I'm based in Moruya, New South Wales, and for those people who are watching news reports, Moruya is in the Eurobodalla district, and up to 80% of the Eurobodalla district burned. And we actually had fire come to our town, pretty much to the periphery of our town. But we had the month of January, so from New Year's Eve when the fires hit Mogo and Cobargo, we had all of January with being at risk either of ember attack, and in people who are in outlying areas had greater risk. So we were pretty much in the thick of it. But I was interested with this question because we've had blaze aid set up in the local showground. So the local showground was a place that people could evacuate to. So people who were living on rural properties, say with horses, or elderly people could evacuate to. And since I think they were there for about 6 weeks, some of them at the showground, but then the blaze aid people moved in. So when you drive from Moruya north to Bateman's Bay, we can see physical evidence of rebuilding happening. Now, whether or not that's just people who've had appropriate insurance, there's a lot of fence rebuilding, there's a lot of clearing. We've seen some houses being reconstructed. I don't know, obviously I don't know about everyone, I'm not an expert in this field, but we're seeing physical evidence of stuff happening. So, and the other really good thing is that, you know, vegetation is returning, which is really, which is great. Like one of the first things, and I was so surprised about, were the tree ferns. So coming down the Clyde, all of a sudden after a bit of rain, those tree ferns would just send out fronds, and it's fronds of hope, I think, you know, this green hope.
That is so beautiful. I guess when you're building a social enterprise around this idea of these climate-ready plants and being able to see the recovery picture, there is nothing more heartbreaking as a bush person. You know, I was born in a teeny tiny community in the middle of regional New South Wales. When floods rip through and completely change the landscape, and when fires rip through, you don't tend to heal from your own grief until you see that first flush of green.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's beautiful. Front of hope is good.
It's interesting though that, you know, COVID, I think, has probably taken our eye off climate change being a driver of what's happening in these landscapes. And we were just reminded very much I think it was a week ago today, there was a big plume of smoke coming up to the east of us. So we knew it was from an area that was unburnt. And just it actually brings up a series of emotions that it's kind of that not knowing what's going on, not being in control, being a bit fearful. And unfortunately, that hadn't been widely communicated to the public, that there was a control burn happening. So if anyone's involved in local control burns, please let everyone know. I think that's the important lesson there. So what I'm trying to say is COVID's been a bit of a disruptor, well, been a huge disruptor in so many ways. We still need to be thinking about climate change and how do we deal with a hotter, drier landscape. And what we're seeing at the moment in Europe and in Siberia is temperatures 8 degrees above average, you know, like thawing of the permafrost and this kind of really rapid escalation of temperatures. We need to be keeping our eye on the ball. And of course, yes, jobs and livelihoods are hugely important. But if we have a climate we can't live in, that's pretty difficult for humans.
Yeah, it's all over, Red Rover.
Yes.
I think I found it really extraordinary that as a business person and as a social entrepreneur in this space in particular, I'm being able to hook campaigns onto popular media stories at the moment. You know, it's such a privilege to be part of the climate change story because we're still engaged in this conversation within our own sector. I'm hoping that, you know, some of this news and some of this energy, the fronds of hope, can also kind of permeate through to the rest of the mainstream, because we've got all sorts of people that follow us. So congratulations. I mean, I think longevity throughout COVID for any startup or any kind of new initiative in this space is going to be challenging. So
yeah, that's true.
Good fight. So let's focus on GRIST. Let's see if we can do a little bit of recap of the end of 2019.
Yeah.
I found GRIST incredibly intense and mind-bending, exciting. You know, not to make it all about me, of course, but that's where you and I met.
Absolutely.
Do you remember the launch when we were at Mills Oakley? Were you there for that?
I was there. I more remember our first day at class. You and I sat next to one another.
That's
and,
right.
and Irene, I was just out. I can't even say the word. I was amazed at how organised you were. You had folders for everything and sticky notes for everything. So I was suitably impressed.
That's so me.
Yeah.
I'm a visual learner. I've got to have my colour coding, otherwise I have no idea where I am.
Yeah.
I've held on to that journal from our GRIST days, and I'm now using it to, manage the program. I mean, that's the big change that's happened for me. Meeting you, meeting the cohort, being involved in this ecosystem in the Canberra region, I completely upended my life to come down here and stay in the middle of it, basically. I'd really like to know, what was it like for you to accelerate, to bring the Climate Factory through that Accelerator experience? Was it as intense for you as it was for me?
It was intense, but I think I like doing things, very practical, hands-on person. So I love ideas and concepts, but I really like to go into that proof of concept. So taking the idea of this cooling microforest, but really testing if the community would put their money towards it. So, and that meant that I was running that crowdfunding campaign for 4 weeks, but we were supported through that crowdfunding campaign through Start Some Good, which was really fantastic.
Right.
And I suppose there was a little bit of a sense of rivalry and competition, but it was healthy between the other people who were trying to raise money as well. So I found that, although it was full on, I found that a really worthwhile experience. And then we raised over $20,000 with 187 supporters, including a couple of businesses, which I was just so heartened to see businesses actually wanting to contribute towards our campaign. So we're talking about Service One Bank, gave us a lot of money and kicked off our crowdfunding campaign with $5,000, plus gave us extra money towards the end. And also a couple of other local businesses. So Lighthouse Architecture and Science and Federation Financial supported us as well. And then we've had other people, smaller amounts come in, which is fantastic. Since then, I've also had another business, and I probably can mention them here, Thor's Hammer, who are a timber recycler. They've come on board, and as part of their giving, as part of their business model, they've chosen 3 different organisations to support this year, and we're one of them. So that money will go towards, they've given us $5,000 in kind. So that will go towards building a seat at the Downer microforest out of like recycled hardwood, plus an additional, we'll be planting either with them or for them, an additional 300 climate ready plants. So that's really cool. So businesses like what we're doing. But
I think small businesses in regional communities are kind of the heart of how people, share their wealth. There's something quite extraordinary about being a local person with, access to profit or access to community. And just by being involved in something as socially innovative as a social enterprise, I've certainly found it with my own connections back home. We walk in for a coffee, or we walk into the music store, and they're like, when's the next round of music producers you're going to train? When do we get to see some new fresh faces in the pubs and clubs performing for us? And I'm like, this is fantastic. That was my biggest learning from this whole process. It's not about as something as straightforward as just a product or service that you just put out there and hope that somebody buys. For a social entrepreneur, it's that story. How do I actually be involved in this world-changing opportunity? So that's so exciting. Would you do it all over again?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, definitely. So, you know, I really enjoyed it, you know, and it was quite good for me because there was a series of milestones we had to reach along the way. So it wasn't ever, you didn't have to create one product just at the very end. So you're building on learning the whole time. Yeah, I'd do it again in a flash. Yep.
You're a brave lady. I don't know if I would.
It was more difficult for you because you were coming down from regional New South Wales, whereas I lived in Canberra at the time. So it wasn't particularly difficult for me to turn up.
It did give me an opportunity to get all my homework done on the train, so that was a bonus.
Yeah, that's right. Make sure your sticky notes were all in place.
Yeah, you don't want to get the purple ones and the blue ones confused. Otherwise, that's the system. So your business model has pivoted since the end of the Accelerator program.
It has.
I'd really like you to take us through that journey, and in particular, if you can reference what you learned at the Accelerator that's helped you figure out how to pivot. Are you able to share?
Yeah. So I suppose the introduction of COVID-19 gave me time to reflect on what I was going to do, because I'd set myself a mission to plant, or a vision to plant 100,000 trees and shrubs by 2025. And post the Millhouse program, I attended some marketing courses just online through a design membership I've got, and they were talking about branding and the importance of creating a unique brand, because each of us offer unique qualities and learnings. And it made me reflect, like I've taught landscape architecture subjects, and I thought, well, maybe I could teach people who'd never designed before how they could design an outdoor space that nourished them and kept them cool during heat waves. So this has kind of been a focus of some of my thinking recently. So I kind of heard a bit about marketing funnels, and I started to work out what they were. So basically you create a free offering. So what you're trying to do is gather people's email addresses. So you've got your database starting off. I already had a bit of a database because I ran a crowdfunding campaign last year.
Yes.
And also because I've got a website, the Climate Factory, so I was getting people in that way. But so I ran a free seminar, and I had 100 people book in, and 40 people showed up. And so my free seminar was on 7 ways to create a cool outdoor haven. And what I then offered at the end of that seminar was this 4-week online course, how to design your outdoor haven. So the idea that this would be a course for people who had never designed before or never drawn before. And I could teach them a grid method that I'd taken from the famous landscape designer John Brooks. So this grid method makes it really easy to create a design. It kind of gives you a formula. And that doesn't mean you have to stick to it, but I've taught hundreds of people to design this way, and it seems to work. So then I gave that offering, and you know, a few bookings trickled in, and so that's kind of how I've pivoted during this time, so offering online courses. And I realised during COVID-19, not only was it okay to run community consultation online, is we could also offer courses online. So me being here in Moruya, New South Wales, in a little regional town where there's very few jobs, it meant actually now I could have my job from here rather than going back and forward to Canberra. Now, I'd always felt conflicted because I got fairly strong sustainability feelings, that I had always felt conflicted that I was driving a petrol car back to Canberra on a relatively regular basis. So this means that I can run my business most of the time digitally, which is fantastic.
Footprint.
Yeah, exactly. The other thing is I've been talking about writing a book for a long time. I had a draft of a book, so I've been working on that. The principles are around creating a cool outdoor haven. The idea is it's to be ebook that I'll publish myself. So I've been working on that, and actually running the webinar helped me with some of that writing.
That's so exciting. I remember when you first told me about the book, and I'm like, I know like at least 30 women back home where that's the perfect Christmas present. Like,
well, that's really interesting that you say that, because we've got so far 14 people booked into the course, and 13 of those people are women. So I didn't realise that I had that particular demographic, but I do. And the other interesting thing is quite a few of these people are people I already know who've signed up. So one of the things about building a brand and is also building trust. So people need to trust that you can deliver and what you say you're going to deliver.
Yep, beautiful. That kind of takes us a little bit into the next question. I'm just going to slightly reframe the next question, which was around social innovation and the environmental impacts that we're talking about. Clearly, you're taking your business model into a digital realm.
Yeah.
Offering digital services and digital access.
Mm.
Do you think that women are a little bit more open to innovation, social innovation, taking care of the planet, and this new digital opportunity gives us a little bit more of a transparent and level playing grounds to come together? Is that what you're kind of sensing in this space?
I understand what you're talking about, women and environment and nurturing. I see a lot of the followers, say on my Climate Factory page, maybe are 2/3 women, and there's something that I'm doing that resonates with them. And so what I'm trying to say is we need to be creating these cool outdoor spaces, not only in our own homes and in our streetscapes, but in the public. And a lot of women seem to really like that. I think maybe having a business that's digital maybe takes a lot of barriers to starting up away, because you don't need that many resources. You need, like a laptop and
a webcam,
a webcam, and there's not a lot of resources that you need. So I'm actually working at the moment. I do have a desk elsewhere, but I've got a folding card table here that I'm sitting at, so it means I can move. We've had a dog who's been bothering the chickens, and it means I can take this card table outside and work somewhere where she is, so I can see what's happening with her and the chickens.
Is this that little border collie puppy that
Yes. So like a number of other people, we actually started I was looking at puppies in real estate. I was thinking, oh my God, we're going to have to, during the fires, we're going to have to live somewhere where there's no fires, right? So I was thinking either Tasmania or New Zealand. They were having fires though too. But I was also looking at border collie puppies, and ended up getting a border collie puppy on the first week of the shutdown. So that's actually we've had her for 5 months. So, 3 months we've been in sort of partial shutdown.
She's a teenager now.
She's 5 months, yeah.
I had a beautiful caramel coloured border collie. And when I first moved to Canberra, been doing the long distance thing, and my husband's been at home looking after my dog, and just no time to brush him or take care of him. We've got 5 kids floating around at the moment, so it's been a challenge. So we brought him down to Canberra for a test weekend.
Yeah.
See how he'd go in a flat, and it was just a disaster. The poor guy.
Yeah. I can imagine.
So we rehomed him just last weekend.
Oh, have you? Okay.
He's so happy.
Oh, that's good.
The happiest boy right now.
That's good.
Brushes him and bathes him and takes him for walks every day, and there's no elevator. I love border collies. They're my favorite. I did see in your social media a few of your puppy photos, and I'm just like, oh, that's tough.
Yeah, we've got 2 of them.
I think what I've noticed with this new way of working, this new incredible transparency that happens with technology now supporting people coming together and trading, is a lot of the a lot of the groups of people that have always felt uncomfortable working in that mainstream kind of male-dominated spaces. Now we're a little bit more visible, and we're a little bit more, active in these conversations. And I've noticed an explosion of women who have just gone, I'm going to start a business. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. It's like, thank goodness, because we need more incredible people like, dare I say, us, to be out there and changing the world. I do recall we had a conversation just a little while ago around, now that there are all these skills around the digital access and building these digital products and offering these digital services, around the technology component. How much of a struggle has that been with the impact mission and with your, pivoting and iterating this model really quickly? What's the biggest
So my original vision, so when we were writing our business plan, we had to have a vision. So mine was and it had to be something that you could measure. So mine was to plant 100,000 climate-ready trees and shrubs in Canberra by 2025. And actually before COVID-19, I was having a conversation with a guy at Tilly's in Canberra, and he said, well, you don't have to do that all yourself. If you kind of enable other people to do that, and then those people can then record what they do, that kind of takes the onus off me. So if I can teach people or empower people to know the right plants to plant and how to plant them and how to look after them, and then if we came up with an app that people could then record and locate what they've planted, so using GPS or something along those lines, I thought that app could be wonderful, and then take all my worries off my hands. I'd actually applied for some additional funding that would help me to do that, and I was unsuccessful in getting that. So that's a little bit on the back burner at the moment. We do have a number of plants, so we know we've got 1,500 plants plus an additional 300 going in for Downer. The Sullivan's Creek microforest, we've got 1,000 plants. There's another project I'm working on that's not strictly my project, but I'm doing the designs for it. We can probably count those plants in it as well. But we really need to ramp up our efforts of people planting climate ready, particularly trees, because trees are the most important part of the landscape. They're the part in the landscape that will give us shade. So look, if there's any app developers out there who want to work with me, maybe this would be a fantastic university project. I'm
thinking so.
And maybe there's some sort of digital place at uni. I don't know in what course, but if anyone out there is listening and can point us in the right direction, that would be wonderful.
That's a beautiful ask, Edwina.
Thank you.
You're a master at this. I am more than happy to spread that message far and wide, because I think there's so many opportunities for other people to come in and help us when we're building our ventures. I am by no means a tech expert, and yet I'm working in the music industry, and that's one of the most tech-enabled creative sectors. And exactly the same kind of thing. I need somebody who knows their stuff to come in and just like, here's my vision, can you help me translate that? So I will put the call out there. I think that might be our first message that goes out. So
that sounds great.
If you get like 1 million developers.
Just if I can add to that, Irene, I mean, that's it's really important, because depending on who you listen to, they're saying we've got the next 10 years to take action. So if we really want to start cooling down our environment, and particularly our urban areas, because our urban areas are up to 8 degrees hotter than surrounding countryside, we really need to be amping up our tree planting, appropriate tree planting in our cities and towns,
in our personal spaces,
personal spaces as well. So I know the people who can come to my course can add the trees they plant to this app.
That's what I was thinking, that you're kind of developing a whole army of backyard warriors. There was, I think I remember sending you a couple of little examples, but there's like a shark tracking tech website type thing.
Okay.
Where citizen scientists are
okay.
and tracking and things like that. I'll dig up the email and send it through to you again.
There's also Canberra Nature Map, which is a bit along those lines as well.
And there's another lady up in Armidale who does ants. She has an ant project, and there's ant citizen scientists.
Okay.
So I know that there's a couple of models out there just to help, think about the technology, the way that you and I would describe the needs around our technology ask. But I think if we get the right people in place, I read some really scary articles around the tipping points, like in the next 6 months.
I try not to talk about that.
It's a bit scary.
Yeah, I just try and do what I can do. And the best thing I know is to plant trees.
Plant. Backyard warriors.
And grow them, grow from seed and that sort of thing.
Absolutely. I have shared your, I think you had your screening of your webinar.
Yes.
I've shared that with my children, because my children are back home in Armidale, and we have a massive backyard, and I'm like feeding this through to their energy and their commitment to that space, and they're, ready to take the next step. It's like, where do we get the trees from? Where do we put them? How does this work? And I'm like, you need to go to the e-course.
Yeah, definitely.
So much I can do, child.
Yeah.
The Canberra Nature Map was called, wasn't it?
Yep.
Beautiful. I'm going to go and do a little bit of research as well. So we're getting pretty close to the end of the interview. Thank you again for your time.
Oh, you're welcome.
Well, we've talked about a lot. We've covered a lot of stuff. So I might just truncate the next chunk of questions down into one very special one, which is around, what does the future look like for the Climate Factory? How is your energy as a social entrepreneur kind of feeding this journey and recovering from all of this 2020 year of hell, basically?
That's a good question. And one of the things I've realised now, being in, I think it's my 6th decade, is you don't know where you're going to end up. So you might start at a point. So I studied landscape architecture as a mature age student, and studied ecology and resource management at the same time, and worked in that field. And then I remember making a declaration about 18 months ago. I said, I'm never going to be a landscape architect again, and I gave away like all my drawing stuff. But I'm now doing landscape architecture in a different format. So I'm taking everything I've learned, plus my own, what I'm doing, having built a sustainable house and garden in Moruya, and using those as examples, and taking my thinking around climate change and bringing that all together and packaging it. I'm trying not to be a landscape architect to individuals. Rather, I'm trying to create a model where it is scalable, where I can teach other people kind of what I've learned in my journey so far. So I can't retire for another 6 years. Well, I could, but I can't, because I need to make some sort of income. Yeah. So I think the next 6 years fits in really neatly to thinking that there's only, 10 years that we need to do some really good work. So I feel if I can make a contribution, if we can get 100,000 trees planted in the Canberra region, that would be awesome. But also if I can inspire people in other projects and other regional centres, to maybe, and what I'm thinking, rather than me going and building every single down a microforest, so, we'll hopefully get the first one started to be built towards the end of this year. But if I can teach other people how to do it, if I come up with a way to systematise or create a course or a book, then that's more powerful. So if I've shown other people how to do it. So that's what I'm thinking. So that's about scale. That's, so I think it's to be prepared for there to be change and just to be flexible. And also reassess and reevaluate as you go along. So I'm running this course, and our original start date was going to be Wednesday the 1st of July, but we're actually going to start on Saturday the 4th of July at 9:30 p.m. So I'm going to be running this course, how to design your cool outdoor haven. And then, you know, once I've run that course, I'll take feedback and then I'll reassess, reevaluate. Is that an appropriate offering? How could I do it better? And then what I'll probably do is relaunch an offer again 1st of September. And I think we'll get more take up. I think people are very focused on maybe not having jobs, not being able to get out. But I think hopefully 1st of September, there'll be a bit more certainty about what's happening around COVID. But people will be getting closer to summer. Maybe it's a bit weird saying to people, hey, summers are really hot where we live, when we're kind of in the middle of winter. And I know here we've had frost out here in the morning. So I think maybe in summer there'll be a little bit more spring, more urgency.
There is that, you know, human beings are. I always feel every time we get that first bite of winter that I'm never going to be warm again. And I know it's not rational. I've been on the planet for a little while now. I listen to my elders and I listen to the stories of the country, and I know that summer comes again. It just doesn't feel like it in that moment. Oh.
I think too, I know definitely down here there's this sense of, well, we don't know what this summer will bring. And given that we had a summer where people felt they didn't have a summer holiday, there was high anxiety, whereas we've tended to, summer has been often a time of celebration. Well, there's often now summer's a bit of a time of concern. So if we can create sort of outdoor spaces that nourish us and cool us down and cool our homes down, well, that's a really good thing.
And the incredible health benefits of gardening.
Absolutely. So not only physical but mental. So, and also feel like we can't rely on our governments to take action. So we need to take personal action.
That is so exciting, Edwina. You're incredible.
Thank you.
You're the leader of the army of the backyard warriors, my friend.
No, that's Costa.
Costa's so cute. I love Costa. He's amazing. My darling, I'd like to finish us there. Are you happy to wind up?
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely.
Well, thank you.
Can I just give a plug? So if people want to go and look at the online course, it's climatefactory.com.au/learn, another /.
We're whizzes at this technology stuff.
We are. We're good.
I'm also going to make sure that the link for the course is in every single piece of media that we put out there, because I'm really excited by it. And quite possibly I'll have a teenage dirtbag daughter enrolled before too long.
Oh, cool.
I keep putting it in front of her face and I'm like, you've got to do this. It's really good. You're about the future. You care about stuff. She's like, I'll get to it.